Greetings, everyone. How are you doing? It is a beautiful Monday, and we are going to go in today a little bit on quack, quack, quackity, quack, quack. I'm so sick and tired of being called a quack by people throughout the last 36 years. And it seems like any of us who do what they like to relegate as alternative medicine are the ones that were the quacks, the charlatans. We're not scientific enough. We don't wear a white lab jacket when we work with people. We don't do a lot of what doctors do, and we certainly didn't go to what I feel is almost like a martyrdom-based teaching. Before we get started, it's about 33 degrees here in Northeast Minnesota, just like a high-powered Mason. And I'm going to show you something that I had on my door for quite a while. They lied to your grandparents, right? They lied over and over, and you repeat these lies as if they're gospel. If you break the word gospel down and you syllableize it, it's like a go spell. The next thing is, I know I've showed you this once before, but I'm going to show it to you again. And I'd like to give a big thank you to someone I plan on calling on the telephone, because I really dislike texting each other all the time. It's okay, but if I can't develop a comfort level with someone and be able to pick up the phone and hey, and have a few minutes, it's really not going to be too relationship building. So since Dr. Malter gives the phone number in here on a couple of places, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to give him a call, just like I do with Dr. Watts and like I do with others that have made themselves really approachable and really down to earth. And I hope I reach him. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But again, this is his book, okay? Shrinking the Judge, Freeing the Inner Child. If you know Carl Jung's work, you might say Carl Jung, however you say it. I guess I've gotten in my own way of saying his name. I took extensive amounts of psychology and philosophy in college. It was my big passion. I especially liked physiological psychology and learning about the brain and the different neurotransmitters. I took psychology of addiction. I took general psychology, took some sociology courses like marriage and family. I worked as a therapeutic foster parent for 10 years. I worked as a senior family law specialist, paralegal for almost 20 in various capacities. And I read hundreds of books. I like to meet people who are teachers face to face, in person. I love the way that our world was, where you could walk into grocery stores and big delis were full of all kinds of food for different kinds, of tastes. This book talks about the archetype of the warrior and how the warrior can be grown inside of someone so that you can start to minimize the judge. It's very important. I wrote down some notes because I really want to stay on point on this particular live stream. But before I get into some of these notes on this 33-degree day, like a high-powered Mason, I want to say that for years and years, what I have offered my clients, because they're not patients when they see me, is typically always been face-to-face in person. And then in the last many years, I've worked with people in Africa, New Zealand, Australia, and all over the world, because now we have technology that's blended into our world sufficient that, the mainstream people are doing things like this, like I'm doing with you on YouTube right now. We want to take an assessment. So we want to be able to first ask some questions. What's going on with you? Like, what are your troubles? What seems to be, what is being communicated by your body and by your mind? What are your thoughts? What's showing up for you in your field? What's happening? And what have you done about it historically? Did you go to the doctor? Did they work up testing? Did they put you on medications? Did you try more than one or two or three or four? I've got clients that are calling me in their 20s that are on 10 and 12 medications at a time, including things like Seroquel. 25 mgs of Xanax, trazodone, and all kinds of things just to suppress the symptoms on these individuals enough so that they can keep them out of suicidal ideation, so they can keep them out of, the confusion and the depression and the fatigue that draws them into either the hero, the heroine, or the meth, amping them up and giving them energy. Suicide, which is big. We don't want that. I don't want that for you. So if you're listening, key in and listen to what I have to say, because we're two different systems. Medical industry and medicine woman like myself, shaman and medicine woman. I don't want to be relegated into alternative medicine. I have 36 plus years, over $100,000. And so it's interesting because as we navigate this COVID pandemic, and I go to my business P.O. box to pick up my mail pretty much every day, and I hear, now be sure and stay safe. We didn't speak like that before. It wasn't always like, my God, we're running a risk being outside, mailing our mail, and going to the grocery store is risk-taking behavior. Everyone have your mask on, cover up your breathing, and put your sanitizer on, and maybe wear your gloves, and kind of stay away from people because of the germ phobia, Bless up, Whitney. Good to see you. And so it is that I guess the number one remark that I want to make is, where is the healing? Where is the love? Where is digging in and finding what's really going on? Because when is the last time you've ever seen someone, choking and needing a ventilator, walking around out on the street? And I'm not trying to clown or make up any, glaring disrespect here, because I'm all about manners and respect. I really am. But every time I'm told someone's on the COVID ward or someone's been pronounced dead from COVID, they had legit pre-existing conditions, Guillain-Barré, they had myasthenia gravis. They had such low blood pressure, I'm not even sure how they got themselves to the hospital. But they were pronounced dead from COVID, as if we need to contrive these numbers to get people, more acclimated to this being another wave, this being a terrible thing, this needing that you need to stay safe and protected. But it doesn't make sense. So 20 years ago, in the year 2000, I was in herbal school becoming an herbalist. I'd already gone to massage school in 1997. I'd gone to Twin Lakes College of Healing, studied with Cynthia Koppel, and learned Ayurveda and specifically Panchakarma. I learned a form of massage called Abhyanga, which is a four-handed massage. So my two hands and another human's two hands over here are working on one person at the same time. And Panchakarma is really the science of detoxification found within Ayurveda, the science of life. Over 5,000-year-old system, which is still missing in American traditional Western allopathic medicine. It's very, very, very rare. And then because the knowledge is so limited for most white-coated doctors with credentials who went through the American Medical Association, they really don't know what they're talking about, including recommending zeolite. Now, zeolite has a lot of wonderful potential, except that zeolite contains aluminum. Now, zeolite contains aluminum, and you can ask yourself, you can ask Dr. Watts about that as well. So, when we're talking about things that are brought up in conversation as they were for me today, well, so-and-so's only got about 20% lung function, and they're not even wearing a mask, okay? I'm not making fun of you. What I'm doing is, why does so-and-so have 20% lung function? Why does so-and-so have myasthenia gravis? Why do they have lupus? Why are they coughing and having a cold or the flu? Why were my eyes so dark and my voice so raspy, my energy so low. I told you why. If you didn't hear me, let me share it again. My son died a year ago, October 29th. It's about a year. For 4 years preceding that, a doctor got him addicted to opiates following a skiing accident. I talked to a woman today on the phone with her, not to her, and her son had wisdom teeth removed and had dry sockets and was put on opiates, became addicted, and he is now gone as well. A 2-year journey for him. Why are we allowing these drugs to be given to the babies? Why do we not understand why our people are so sick, ill, infected, and toxic? Why, for 36 years, when I go to submit something to the Duluth News Tribune to John Lund, who's the editor, and he has a section on PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, John, why do you reject what I want to write and say, no, it's okay, we've already got the PCOS Society? Of course you do. Vast sums of money are being made such that you want to make sure to push me out of the way. You know that I've got a very high IQ. You know that I've done the study. You know that I've put in the money, or you simply don't care. And you want to make sure that I am not out there for the public to see that they can actually heal themselves. I got nothing to lose. You know, you kill someone's child and eventually they start to think to themselves, what do I have to lose? You know what I mean? I've brought you this medicine for how long? I've got these testimonials. How come when my clients like Brian Marshall, a pastor in Duluth, Minnesota, who is a well-written testimonial on my website, who had psoriasis on 85% of his body, red and peeling, had to wear big, baggy shirts, okay? Couldn't drive a car, had problems involving his marriage, had to be retired from the church, had to be put on disability. And in 8 sessions, and I said, may I lay hands upon you? I said, you do understand that as a shaman, I couldn't possibly do religion, but I'm deeply connected to God, Brian. I have high integrity, Brian. And so it was with my client that I also met at Amazing Grace Cafe with myasthenia gravis that was referred by another man here in Duluth who's a massage therapist, or who was himself before COVID, has destroyed so many of our lives intentionally. So in 2000, as an herbalist, I was telling everyone, stop it. Stop using the rhetoric that you're going to catch a cold or the flu, because you're not. You don't catch the stomach bug, you don't catch the flu, and you don't catch a cold. I did not catch adrenal fatigue. I did not catch thyroid deficiency. I did not catch congestive heart disease. They are a byproduct of trauma. Now, what happens when there's trauma? You see, when there's trauma, not just for me, because my child died, my child was hijacked intentionally by something that the Sackler family created and has continuously created with other drugs and will continue to create unchecked and unmetered. Because you see, when working in law, one thing I learned is that you need to always have, to protect people, a system of checks and balances. That is what our government is supposed to be providing. And we can't possibly do that when one individual is allegedly a leader sitting in the White House of America. We must have a council of elders in central localized locations that are elders who are clean living, unmedicated, and who can agree to disagree. This book, written by Mr. Malter, Dr. Malter, Ph.D., Doesn't look like much, maybe from the cover, but just like Carl Jung talks about with the archetypes and why the warrior was so necessary. Why is it that women are so uncomfortable with being part of the warrior archetype, which is the self-savior? How do you come in and save your inner traumatized inner child if the judge is going to take over that inner child that even at 59, my old self has an inner child still, little girl Karen inside of me, who still wants to live her life sweet and gentle, loving and kind, but for multiple levels and layers of trauma. Not just me, many eyes, individuals, persons, beings, not just humans, but also the animals. Okay? So when we have a more full, beautiful, soft inner child, when we can protect our children because we know what's going on today and the level of trauma is severe, we can't take a lot of those chances. We can't make a lot of choices we would have made in the 60s and say, sure, you can go stay at your friend's house all weekend, have fun. Here's a little bag with some pajamas, and you guys play around out in the street all night and have a great time. Here's a couple bucks, $2 that'll get you a weekend full of some treats at the store and have a great time. Can't do that anymore. We can't do that because the system has become too self-serving, because it has deemed those like myself, which are very few, who went the journey I've gone. It's not boasting. It's self-knowledge, okay? So when you can observe someone, their hair, their eyes, their skin, their fingernails, the lunulas, when you can tissue test them and find out what kind of deficiencies do they have, how does that affect what's going on? What kind of medications are they taking? And you can help them to make decisions through intelligent information, knowledge, and wisdom. Then you can start to help people unravel and unwind from something that is going to cause a painful disconnect between all of our people, our children, our animals, and nature. It's already created such extensive injury to females. Cold mother, wounded mother, postpartum mother, rigid, stiff mother, narcissistic mother. All of these are new ways that we react to the trauma that we are experiencing from your alcoholic, obese, cigarette smoking, medication taking, sick parents. And I am going to be told to put on a mask because they've got a low lung function. Put your mask on so I don't infect you. You've got 20% lung function. I don't want to compromise you in any way. Let me put my mask on so I can take care of you and make sure you're okay. You got it backwards. Where is the level of responsibility for the individual to understand, understand, overstand how, why, where, what caused this person to be lung compromised? If it's mesothelioma, perhaps it was because you were working in a paper mill. Perhaps it was because you were working in an asbestos factory. But perhaps it also had to do with your cadmium-related cigarette smoking. Perhaps it also had to do with getting up and having your morning coffee and your eggs. Perhaps it had to do with sitting in your lazy boy and not getting out and walking. Perhaps it had to do with many of the medications that were heaped upon you as you went for relief. Perhaps you have a part in this. Perhaps you have a significant part in this. Perhaps our people are rife with pre-existing conditions that they don't even fully understand, and they can't, because the current system has methodically and systematically positioned them into a place of absolving them of any responsibility of what's going on with them. It's okay. We've got a new pill for that. You don't have an erection? We have Viagra. You have a headache? We've got new things for that too. Let me take a sip here. When Cloquet Memorial Hospital received millions of dollars, outpourings from the community in Cloquet, Esco, Renshaw area, millions, tax-free. You don't think they make money on plastic bags that they use over and over with salt water called an IV that usually are about $4,800 on your insurance bill that's getting paid? Yeah. That was supposedly, allegedly, going to be for the people of Cloquet, for Cloquet Memorial Hospital. Mr. Brewer is the CEO. I've had many conversations with you, Mr. Brewer. After teaching 14 courses through Carleton Community Education, I was asked by Jan Ashmore, who's now a social worker in the county, who was formerly running the classes and the teachers and everything at Carleton Community Education, where I taught 14 classes with outstanding reviews, helped the community with juice feasting, detoxing, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, sick and tired of being sick and tired, beginning African hand drumming, and the list goes on. Bringing in Joe Meese, who's now retired, who's a compounding pharmacist. I was told that I was specifically not going to be welcome to teach in the new digs that were freshly built on the bottom floor at Cloquet Memorial Hospital. It was okay that Weight Watchers came in, and it was okay that other people came in to teach, but I wasn't going to be permitted to teach. In fact, I was told by Mary Kay Marciniak, who's got a child the same age as my son, and they grew up together, Drew, that I was not even going to be able to have a table at their diabetes fair, because if I was going to introduce plant-based nutrition, it just wouldn't mesh really well with the fact that they already had a nutritionist at the hospital who was classically trained. And I said, oh, sure. Why don't we have them eat egg whites and turkey lunch meat on wheat bread? You ever read The Wheat Belly? Nah, probably not. Renee Trader, who's now deceased, was someone who was injecting over $2,000 a month of insulin, someone whose insulin radically decreased when she went on to high-level juicing and raw food with me, until the entire community at Park Avenue Fitness, where I was working out every day, where she was going to the swim class 3 times a week, were saying, what are you doing? And the doctor said, we're making an assumption that the pancreas doesn't work, because she had a terrible car accident and was thrown up in the air walking a crosswalk. Renee started regenerating in such a profound way. People couldn't believe it. Like Brian Marshall, like Ernestina, like me with the ovarian carcinoma diagnosis in 2008, like me losing a child and going into 5 major life stresses in 11 months' time, including COVID, including a move, including moving my physical business, including remodeling my entire home and having to put it up for sale, including navigating an awful lot of fuckery. Okay? So doctors go through an almost martyr-based system, several years, 4, 5, 8 years of training through the AMA. They frequently have very poor nutrition, eating habits, sleeping habits. Many of them have car accidents. Some have suicided in recent years. Many, many young doctors have drug addiction through the same prescriptions that they prescribe to their clients. What does this do? Does this give us a model worthy of imitation in the doctor that's obese, that's drug addicted, but isn't telling us, who has poor eating habits, who's stressed out, who starts to feel as if they're expected to have omnipotence and omniscience? They're supposed to be a godlike status when they put that white jacket on and that credential on the wall, and they get behind the seat and the driving wheel of a Mercedes-Benz or a Volvo or a BMW or the prescription pad. When are we going to acknowledge real assessments and healing? When are we going to stop calling others who have proven time and time again, as I can only speak for myself, I cannot speak for you as a health coach. If you went through, integrative nutrition or one of these correspondence courses, I don't know how much you know. I know that it seems to be kind of a funneled system in many coaching programs that I have talked with people about that, well, we can only take you this far, So instead of having you fill out the wellness form and me reviewing it in my time, asking you to really flesh it out with lots of detail so I can really study you, because I am capable of reading large, voluminous amounts of material. They've got their pen and paper. Hi, how's it going? And they start asking the questions while you are paying them. Or you may have a very brief, simplistic wellness form to fill out because they don't want to overwhelm you. In my case, I'm like, fill out what you want. Keep it very brief, flush it out really big time. I want to know because I'm here to be able to listen to your word sound when you're just in a natural flow, your body language, how are you moving? What is the energy of your skin? Are you glowing? Are you grayed out? How are your eyes? Are they dark circled underneath? Do you have a lot of bags? What is your tongue like? What are your lips like? Do you have liver and spleen lines? How about the creases around your ear? How thick is your hair? Are you prematurely gray? What are your bowel movements like? Is your urine bubbly and dark yellow? How about your moon cycles, your monthly cycles, what a lot of you call your period, the end of a sentence? Are you full of clots? Do you have a lot of pressure? Do you have to urinate all the time? What does your hair tissue test tell us? You see, you need a thorough assessment. Otherwise, you're just checking and treating. If you have 10 minutes to 30 minutes in the doctor's office and you come in and you're sweating bullets, and then maybe you're sitting over here in the chair, doctor's sitting across from you at the table, you've had all your lab work done, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, the doctor's sitting there. Looking at your results. Yeah, I don't like what I see here. I don't like that at all. And you're sitting there, blood pressure's going up by the moment, right? Your palms are sweaty. You're wondering, what in the Sam hell is going on here? And why don't you just break it down and get to the point? But you see, doctors don't have the experience 99% of the time of knowing what detoxification is capable of. Okay? If I pull into the grocery store today and I say, I'm going to go check for that polenta again. I'm not going to go to Cub Foods. Today I went to Super One, which is a grocery store that I'm not really fond of, but since I'm banned from Whole Foods as of October 22nd, and I'm banned because they didn't like my attitude in March, according to Jen, which makes no sense, but it is what it is. People are quirky, to say the least. Then what's going to happen? You're sitting there, palms are sweating, your heart's starting to race, right? You walked in and the nurse assistant or the practitioner of some sort, but not the doctor, is checking your temperature, slapping a blood pressure cuff on, slapping an oxygen sensor on your finger, and you're getting your vital signs done. But the damn doctor hardly even looks at those, let alone interprets the true value of what they mean. They have significant meaning. In the course of degeneration and regeneration. I know. I regenerated myself from nearly being dead. If you ask me, ovarian cancer, experimentation, infertility, asthma, blah, 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 I'm going to tell you, losing your child is the single most horrific thing you can ever go through. Finding them dead on the floor. Yeah, definitely ranks as numero uno when it comes to level of high level stress experience. The number one. I want to look at my notes here really quick because there's a couple things I wanted to say. The Western system of medicine is very monopolistic. It's really making vast sums of money. The other thing is I have clients that in all sincerity will tell me in our initial engagement, when I can see large ridges on their fingernails, I can see sparsing eyebrows like my own. I can see circles. I can see many symptoms of thyroid deficiency and other situations, which are in fact the pre-existing condition under every single one of my clients' other diagnoses and imbalances. Every single one of them. There wasn't one that wasn't. You got a baby with brain cancer. You got a dog with a big brain tumor. You got a dog that I saw walk out today that's got a big, huge, big fatty lump on the side of its body. You've got someone who can't breathe. You've got someone with respiratory difficulties. You've got someone who keeps getting colds and congestion and flus and sinusitis. You got someone with asthma. You got someone with fibromyalgia. You got someone with infertility. You got someone who keeps having miscarriages. You've got someone who's having ectopic pregnancies. You've got someone who's got, I could keep going. These are not being addressed properly. I got so excited about today's live stream. Some of them excite me more than others. Some days I'm like, I'm just kind of low key today. I'm not a flatlining, always the same. I'm not maniacal. I'm not bipolar. I am going through a lot of emotions with losing a child a little over a year ago, but I'm pretty darn stable. I was going to talk about the last two times a couple of different food choices that I thought would also be shelf stable, very economical on the budget. I have my yams cooking that I put on my Naturally with Karen Facebook page. One that was a little bit bigger. And I took my brush that I showed you the picture of and scrubbed them, cut them into some nice sized chunks, sat them in a pan of filtered water. I'm going to cook them until the fork goes in and they're a little soft. I'm going to take them out and let them cool. I'm going to peel the outside peeling off. As it cools, I'm going to mash it down. Put about a cup of that with about a cup of my flour. The recipe is on a YouTube video on Naturally with Karen on Facebook page. 3-ingredient yam-based flatbread. Salt, flour, and the yams. I thought it sounds pretty good to me. And make a little wild rice, a little avocado, put some sunflower seeds on there. I like to vary my nuts and seeds because it's a good way to live. So when clients say, I ate pretty healthy, can you imagine 36 years of I ate pretty healthy? Well, that's a good start. I'm glad to hear that. What does that mean? That's ambiguous. I don't know what that means. For some people, that means I get up and I have a cup of coffee, I have my toast and my eggs, and I cook at home and I eat healthy. At night, I have my pasta and my garlic bread. I eat pretty healthy because I prepare my food at home. I eat real food. Hey, great. But if it's not working for you, we need to take a look at that and we need to make some changes. That's all. Okay. So thank you. It looks like there is, I don't know how many people. 5. Who's here? Looks like Pure Luminosity. Thank you, Kim. Good to see you. And Whitney. And 3 other people. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this. I don't want to be called a quack or a charlatan. I don't want to be forced to wear this contraption. This doesn't protect you or me from anything. This doesn't do it. There's nothing. It's not doing anything. Okay? Don't put them on children. Understand it does not protect you. Okay? Understand that if you're going to come and you're going to use logic, some form of logic. I took logic in college and I loved it, pre-law. I got a B in it. I'm pretty proud of that. And you're going to try to do A equals B and tell me someone's got a lung is compromised. They've got a diagnosis. They've got lung issues. Well, my wearing this contraption isn't going to do anything. It really isn't. I get it that you want to be a good person and you want to be respectful, but let's start helping the person, the individual, the man, the woman, the being, the dog, the cat. Why do they have that big fatty mass? Well, let's ask ourselves, instead of throwing another pill at it, let's help the being to fire up their glands, because you see, it's kind of like how many, Kim, Whitney, whoever else is here, have you guys ever in your life eaten an Oreo cookie? I'm going to wait a minute. You answer, please. Have you ever in your life, before the plant-based diet, eaten an Oreo cookie? Okay. Did you ever notice there's kind of an interesting little design, almost like a little stick figure on the Oreo cookie? Yeah. It's kind of like, well, it's right there in front of our very eyes. We pick up the Oreo cookie and we go to eat the Oreo cookie. Did you know that was the cross of Lorraine stamped on that? Did you know that's a Knights Templar logo on the Oreo cookie that you're eating? Okay. That's why I drop subtle little hints, and I hope that since they're not quite overt, that people will pick up on them. I dropped a lot of hints in my Detox and Heal Your Thyroid book, and because, well, I'm not willing to do a lot of suffrage for making them exactly completely overt. I'm not a quack. I'm not a charlatan. I don't just take people's money. I don't make a lot of money right now. I plan to, because in order to have a center, in order to have filtered water, and in order to have clean food and grow food and take on dogs and adopt children and do things that I would like to do during my lifetime, they are meaningful to me. My heart is true. I've got to repower myself, which you can see. You can go back and look. You can see I'm doing it. I may not be the prettiest right now, but I'm comfortable with me. Okay? The cross of Lorraine. The cross of Lorraine is on the Oreo cookie. I remember looking at that a long time ago and thinking, what the hell is on the cookie? I haven't eaten an Oreo cookie for a very long time. Numbers, signs, the birds, the weather changes, the barometric pressure shifts. That's fire snoring. If you are picking up, then you're acutely aware that people are not getting healed. They're getting treated by a system where cash is king and you're being funneled. And it's not necessarily the fault of the good people that go to school wanting to be doctors, that really care about people, that look at you in the eye and greet you when you come in to the urgent care or the hospital because you really need to come in there. Things aren't right. And they do something that is such a show of care. I had that experience with one woman, two women. They were both females who saw my son. Dr. Van Pelt at Essentia Hospital, who said, "You're going to stay right here for a week. We're going to detoxify you." And I thought, oh, happy day, right? When he tried to bolt out of the hospital because the addiction is so large, they put a little alarmed little standing thing in his room. And I thought, whoa, I didn't even know they had those. Another time in the emergency room, because we were in and out quite a bit, life or death, quite a bit. I hope you never, ever learn what I've learned. And when I was speaking with a mother in the Twin Cities today who lost her young man, Luke, after the wisdom teeth extraction and the opiates given, 2 years later, dry sockets and pain, and he was prescribed pain medication. What's going to be the next drug around the corner? What next? Why would hundreds of thousands of young people die that we still wouldn't be really doing anything? We'd be sending them off to treatment. Yeah? Because it's a hustle. It's a hustle. Right? So I'm not going to bow down. I know my worth. I am not arrogant. I'm not boasting. I'm not grandiose thinking. I know my worth. I know what I'm capable of assessing and how I'm capable of helping our people to heal, how I'm capable of assembling a council of elders to help us get started. And hopefully more and more will come on and want to walk the path of the shaman, of which Kim and Whitney likely are, in some form of their own, not any way I have to design for them, their own. We need centers as soon as possible because, as you can see, there is no intention of COVID going away. They wouldn't be putting permanent type markers on Facebook and social media platforms, and it wouldn't be what it is since March. So if I go places and they hear, be sure and be safe, I hope that you stay protected. I go, I am. I'm ordering the supplements I need. But if you cause the people to lose the joie de vivre, the joy of life, you cause them to no longer congregate, which is God's will. You cause them the pain that you are causing them, then you are not for good over evil. You are, in fact, the cause of the problem. Throwing a mask on your face is doing nothing. Causing fear and bedlam and panic and chaos is doing nothing but hurting children psychologically, emotionally. You are instilling so much generalized anxiety, symptomology in our people. It's not funny. It is at a really disproportionate level everywhere. The way they drive, the way that they're caught up, the way that they're hitting the alcohol at night. They can't think. Please, enough is enough. I need you to wake up. We have choices. That means we need to learn how to heal again. Think. We need to get the IQs up. I got my IQ up from a very low level. I was so mercury poisoned, so copper toxic. I wouldn't have been able to, be able to have the word sound that I have today that I've been working on since the 70s. Word sound power since the 70s. I don't want to just peacefully fade off somewhere and into my RV and just kind of, button my lip and keep it quiet. Unless provoked, maybe I would. Either we make something happen, we strengthen ourselves, which is not an easy task. If you think for a moment that my getting to this level with my dreadlocks, with my skin, with my energy, with my breathing, with my voice, with my energy all together has been easy, you'd be mistaken. I was pissing myself for a whole year plus. I was scared that when I went outside, people would think I had COVID. Thank God that part's gone. Between my dreadlocks starting, my dark circles under my eyes, and choking all the time, and all the phlegm coming up, and pissing myself every single day, even when I tried to lay down, I couldn't lay flat and go to sleep. My heart was aching. So when I cover detoxification with my clients, I might bring a little bit of understanding about how difficult your journey might be. It just might. I was mercury poisoned and copper poisoned to the hilt. All right? Nothing is impossible. We always are going to give it our best. Thank you for joining me. I didn't mean to take this long. I'm sorry about that. You have a wonderful evening. And thank you for joining me.